Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to PLD Projects MID Classified, the podcast where we go deep, deep, deep into the most consistent movie franchise of all time. Yes, I said it. I say it every week. The most consistent movie franchise of all time, more than Star Wars. Can you believe that's coming out of my mouth? Marvel, DC, all of them. All of them. We're here to talk about every Mission Impossible movie leading up to the release of Dead Reckoning, which your boy's getting to see a little bit early.
I love you and hate you at the same time. I mean, I love you for everything you do. I love that you get a chance to do that. At the same time, I'm kind of like, son of a bitch.
If I wasn't the plus one, I would make you my plus one. But unfortunately, I'm the date. So, but yes, I will be at the London premiere for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning.
And hey, Matty, is whoever's the person who's taking you, Matty will definitely put out for that. Let me tell you.
Yep, they know. They know. But yeah, I'm super excited. Even just the chance to be in the slim to none chance to be in the same room as my hero, the great TC Legend, to say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you follow me on Twitter.
That probably might change if you tell him. He might go, what the fuck?
Worth it. Worth it. Who knows? Maybe he'll add me to his what is it? What's the
circle?
Twitter version? The Twitter circle. Maybe he'll add me to the Twitter circle.
Maybe. You never know.
Who knows?
Well, we'll find out.
That would be the upgrade. But we're here today to talk about Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Absolutely. And I'm excited about this. We did our last week episode with Mission Impossible 3 with Matty Kearns.
Great episode.
Great episode, definitely, which we said our favorite. All three of us said that was our favorite of the Mission Impossible franchise. This is one, though, I like to champion a lot personally because I feel like it kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. Like we have the first one has its own thing. The second one has the John Woo out of, totally ridiculous off the wall. 3 has Owen Davian. 5 kind of begins this almost it becomes less episodic, and there's kind of an overreaching kind of storyline with the syndicate and everything else. 5, 6, and 7 and beyond. 4 kind of really set the groundwork, but it almost feels like 4 is set as a prologue, as in it's a prologue to the real story that's coming. But hell, at the end of the movie, we get the syndicates talked about for the first time in the message. But there is a lot to love here, and I really wish this didn't get dismissed as much as it does.
Do you think another part of that is it is sandwiched between Macquarie and JJ?
I think that's part of it, and I'm actually very upset about that specifically. I mean, because like I said, Owen Davian...
Brad Bird's great. Brad
Bird, let me tell you something about Brad Bird. I love Brad Bird, but he gets a short shrift when it comes to his live action. Obviously, he's well celebrated for The Iron Giant, well celebrated for his work on The Incredibles. He's not liked for Mission Impossible, but again, it's considered a lesser compared to some of the other ones. And then, of course, there's Tomorrowland, which everybody hated. It's way cheesy. It's over. I don't know what movie they watch. It's one of my favorite movies of the decade. I love that movie so much unabashedly. Maybe I just have a cheese in my heart. I love cheese, so maybe it's just a part of me. That could be it. I thought it was one of the greatest, hopeful, maybe a little bit naive, but in a good way, being hopeful and positive about things. And it seems like we need that sometimes. And Brad did it so well. But I'm in a minority for whatever reason on that. I know that, but because of that, he has not been able to make a live action movie since. So it's kind of unfortunate in a way. But his 2 ones he's gotten to do, Mr. Ghost Protocol and Tomorrowland, I highly enjoy. In fact, if you remember, he was on the short list at one point to be a Star Wars director. Back in the day,
He was, yeah. That was a while ago.
And he turned it down because he actually turned it down for Tomorrowland. That's what happened, if I remember correctly. He was one of the ones that was talked about for doing Force Awakens in a way. I would love to have seen his work on Force Awakens, to be completely honest, because there's not a lot of an animated heart in Star Wars to a degree. So I think he could have done a very good job. And if you look at this movie specifically, Ghost Protocol, if we're going to bring it back to that, I kind of feel like it has one of its greatest attributes is the fact that it mixes like that action with that humor. It kind of keeps that heart, but it keeps that heart at its core. So I think I would love it. Now we're not going to go to Holy Snokes territory, but I'd love to see Brad Bird doing a Star Wars movie. But first of all, I'd love to see Brad Bird doing anything live action again. But if he has to do animated, I'll go for that as well.
Yeah, you raised a really good point that I was thinking about earlier. There's a lot more comedy than dramatic beats in this movie. It's essentially a complete 180 from MI3, which is like, yeah, you have the tense moments, but this one there's a lot more comedy, including one of my favorite MI scenes of all time, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But yeah, so what are your overall like thoughts about this movie?
You say there's a comedy, and you're right. This is actually, and like I said, because it is a very humor filled. I do feel it does a great job of mixing in just enough of that heart, to give it that core. It's like I said, I feel bad because it kind of feels episodic compared to some of the other ones. I think that's why it gets a short shrift of this build, because like we already said, 1 and 2 have a thing, 3 is in the middle, 4 through to like their Dead Reckoning has been kind of like this build of, oh my God, here are the action sequences, what's going to happen next. And 4 really started it all. The Burj Khalifa sequence is the first of those holy shit moments. I mean, 3 had some great moments, but they were basically generally, I don't want to say typical action moments, but there wasn't anything like death-defying, comparatively speaking. This is Tom Cruise saying, no, I am the new Jackie Chan in a way. I'm going to do my own stunts and do all these death-defying kind of things, and you're going to love me for it. And it started here.
Have you seen the photo of him sitting on top of the Burj Khalifa?
I'd have. Fucking, like, holy shit.
That dude is a crazy, crazy son of a bitch. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I have been quite vocal in that I'm very pick and choosy with movies that Simon Pegg is in. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Cornetto trilogy. I like them. I was maybe again it's my same thing with Bond. Maybe it's because I am British that like the over Britification of everything. I'm just like, cool. But I know a lot of people that adore the Cornetto trilogy.
This guy right here.
You're one of them?
This guy right here. I am completely one of them. I love Pegg and Frost and Wright. I can't. There's one that's a tip-top shape. I would die for another one of those.
There we go. I mean, I was watching interviews, the press junket for MI Dead Reckoning, and someone actually asked Simon Pegg which of his movies would you want to do a sequel for? What would you want to do a legacy sequel for? And he said that they wouldn't want to touch the Cornetto trilogy, that he'd want to do a Paul sequel.
Oh, okay. But, the interesting thing about that, honestly, is that don't always believe what actors say, because there's also rumors that Wright is trying to get together with I don't know if they'd make it a Cornetto trilogy or not. But I don't know how you would not make it if the trio got back together. So I could see it happen.
But he I think it's because he's a lot more involved. Simon Pegg's a lot more involved in this movie, that he adds that, obviously being the comedian of the bunch, like he adds that kind of charm to it, where it's not like serious all the time. But then you see some of the banter between him and Jeremy Renner, top notch, amazing.
I'm glad you're finally admitting it, that he is better than what's his face from the second one. He is by far better. I'm glad you're finally coming on to the side of reason. Team Benji, much better than Billy.
That's not what I'm saying. Don't put.
Was it Brian? Was it? I don't know.
You
Bubsy?
know it's Billy. You know
Bubsy?
It's Billy. Bubsy. I would ask if you're an Italian New York, but that's exactly what you are. So,
I completely agree with you. But this is actually why I do. This is, honestly speaking, all joking aside, this is why I prefer Benji to that, because he adds a little bit of comedic grace to it. And there's the start, because he becomes the field agent in this one, obviously, which is kind of it's a little tough to believe, but you can kind of understand. You kind of like let that kind of thing go. I mean, you see all the stuff that happens. You're kind of like you're gonna stop short of Simon Pegg being a field agent, then you're in trouble. But he gets better as the series goes on, as far as being a better field agent. But this is actually he has a great little mini arc here in this one, where at the end he is the one who takes that shot and does save the day by helping Renner out there. So, yeah, I think Simon Pegg adds a lot to this episode, this installment, I should say.
Yeah. With that being said, we say we get into our first category. For
Let's
those of
do
you
it.
who are new here at PLD Projects, first of all, we're on our
Like
way to
the
500
fuse.
subscribers. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Go back, watch the other episodes of MID Classified. We've got plenty of other shows on here. MID Classified, Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film, the currently on hiatus Class Action, Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. Yeah, you got the review, which is your show with Lego talking about V, which
Yes,
you two have just another little side tangent before we get into the categories. You two have a really good dynamic between the two of you, and it's really fun to watch between you and Lego.
Thanks. I give that all to Lego. She's very much she's not someone who is like the type I usually work with in a way. She's got definitely different instinct on things, a different look at things, and it keeps me on my toes. She has a very viewpoints, which I don't. She sees things from different angles. I feel like you and me and PJ, we sometimes see things similarly, and if we have our own little, fisticuffs over some little things here and there, but she takes things from like a roundabout viewpoint, which keeps me on my toes. So it is a lot of fun to do, especially going over a franchise where I saw it firsthand, and she was like 20 years later on down the road. So it's definitely two different viewpoints of the franchise. But she's a lot of fun. She's a lot of fun to work with. So I'm happy to have her aboard. So thank you, though. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great. It's been a great watch so far, and this is someone who's never watched V, so it's been a great watch so far. But let's get into our first category, named Your Mission, which is where we have a brief run through of the movie, just have a general chat about the movie in question. At this point, in this case, it's Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. We start off in Budapest. Why is it all these spy action movies like Black Widow? They're always in fucking Hungary. IMF agent Trevor Hanaway is killed in Budapest by assassin Sabine Moreau, played by Léa Seydoux, who is just an incredible actress. I love Léa Seydoux.
So do I almost like, spoiler, hopefully you've watched the movie before you watch this episode. I was very sad when she bit, because she's the character I might have picked her to be the one to come back in Revenue. But she fell out of the Burj Khalifa, so I think we're probably safe.
Did we see the body?
This is not Star Wars.
Did we see the body?
I don't know if we don't have a spaceship that can kind of catch her on the way.
How do you know she didn't find one of the gloves on the way down?
I guess she could have. You're not wrong entirely, but I think the likelihood of that happening is slimmer than your chances of meeting Tom Cruise at the premiere. Let's be honest.
I'm hoping. They are looking to steal some Russian nuclear launch codes with his girlfriend, who's also his handler, Jane Carter.
Yeah, they don't necessarily specifically lay it out, but they definitely had some romantic entanglement when he's dying there. He's like, I should have told you, that kind of thing. So I think they both kind of had feelings for each other, not quite acted upon. So unfortunately, he's telling her too late. Sad to say.
And we see Benji in action for the first time on the field, which was quite surprising, seeing him up in that tower. I was like, what the fuck is Benji doing? Okay, cool. Benji's on the field now. This is great.
Let's be honest, it was certainly a tactic. We got to get Benji in the movie more. He's not really that believable as a field agent. We'll make it work. Don't worry. We'll make that part of the storyline. It's good. It's all good.
Hanaway ends up getting taken out by Sabine Moreau, but he manages to, with his little eye lens, he manages to capture an image of her, and he looks down at his phone to see who it is, and you see it says assassin on it, which that's kind of a cool database. If you could just look at someone, look down at it, tells you their job role.
It's like a baseball card.
That's exactly what it is. It's a baseball card. So what do they need to do? They need to break out the only man that could probably get a hold of these nuclear launch codes, who just so happens to be in a Russian prison.
Ain't that a kick in the head?
And this is where we meet one of my absolute favorite characters in the MI franchise. They constructed this plan. They're going to break Ethan out of jail, apparently against his will. Apparently he was put in there for a reason.
Right.
When he says, if you broke me out of here, that means something must have gone really wrong out here.
Right.
This is where we meet Bogdan.
Bogdan! Yes. Say it again.
Sergey, are you
not
not
Sergey?
Russian?
Are
you
not
not
Russian?
Sergey?
Not Sergey?
So they break Ethan out of a Russian jail cell by blasting. I can't even remember. Do you know the name of the song? I can't remember the name of the song.
That's why I said it. Ain't that a kick in the head?
Ain't that a kick in the head? That's it. But they blast the music over the speakers, and all the guards are like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then slowly they start to open up all the prison doors.
Right.
Ethan walks out. Prison riot kicks off, which Russian prison riots, stuff of infamy if you know your crime history.
Right.
And then as he's walking through, he stops at a door and he says, "Open it." And he's looking at the camera because he knows Benji can see him. He goes, "Open it." And Benji's like, no, I'm not gonna open it. So Ethan just leans against the railing, just like.
Well, first he gets mad, he's like, because he can't hear it. Obviously don't have the. He's in prison, so I can't hear it.
Yeah, so he doesn't
even know
it's Benji.
He doesn't know there's someone watching him.
I feel like he's got like some idea that it's either Luther or Benji who would be the one to come get him. So he runs in and he grabs Bogdan, who's like he's just like, what are we doing? He's like, we're getting out of here. And Bogdan's like, no, I don't want to go. And he ends up like crawling through like the prisoner's legs, like. And the one shot that I loved is as Ethan's walking out of the cell, there's that big burly Russian dude that's just like staring him down, and Ethan's just like shuffles past him.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's just like one of the examples, like those tiny little like action comedy moments.
Right.
And then
what I have to say real quick, let me interject, is that one of the best parts about this, and what Brad Bird does very well as far as crafting a story, and I think the writing is definitely very. I think that the writing is very good for Ghost Protocol. Is it's an action comedy beat that could easily be dismissed as an action comedy beat that was funny at the time and is good. But yet it actually comes into play later on, because if he doesn't go back for Bogdan's not around later on for him to touch base with and get to find his way to Hendrix in a way. So like, every time there's something that happens comedically, there's something later on that actually does tie back to what actually is important to the story. And that to me is the best. If you can have a comedic moment, but have it tie into something greater story arc wise, that's good stuff.
It's almost, to bring the Holy Snokes of it back into it, it's almost kind of like Star Wars. There's those little bits that you're like, oh, that's meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
But then like, as we as fans, like diehard fans, know, like that might come back.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about that. That might come back. So Ethan escapes the Russian jail cell. They have the moment where he's like, Sergey, are you not Russian? And just the funniest moment is where he shoots Bogdan with the dart, and Bogdan just goes, oh! Just this horrid grunt. They throw him in a van, and then they head to get their next mission, which is kind of a touchy one in the world right now, because they are ordered to infiltrate the Kremlin.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that this movie had a Russian premiere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know how that scene went down.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. Definitely for a case of, we've never had the greatest relationships times here and there, but this was definitely one way to do it. This is like Rocky IV all over again at this point, except for we're the bad guys again in that case.
Is it possible that Tom Cruise could unite Russia and America together?
Sylvester Stallone could do it in 1985. Maybe Tom Cruise is the guy to do it in 2020. Well, back then in 2011, but maybe in 2023 he can still do it. And that's the trick of Dead Reckoning Part 2. Is the repeat of Rocky IV, at least the heart of Rocky IV.
So they infiltrate the Kremlin, and what I love was Benji being like the officer, like Ethan's the general, but Benji's like the shit-eating officer. And when he goes to scan his like officer ID and it doesn't come up the first time, Ethan's like, check it again. So he checks it again because it's uploaded in time. And then Benji's just like, remember who you're talking to, Romanov. And then like spits at him. And I was just like, dude, you would take like we get that you're new in the field, but like you're overselling it right now.
That he is, and that's part of it that made me love it. He's like, I was like, no better.
And then you have the moment where they essentially just pull like a slide across the hallway and then download the image of the hallway. There's one guard there who looks like he's probably like halfway through his shift, doesn't give a shit, and he's just like, that looks kind of weird.
God, I love that.
They're in there to get.
There's some great tech in this episode. Installment, and that's what you go for. I mean, Bond used to be the place to get tech. I kind of still to a degree, but there's some Mission Impossible really took over for this kind of like unbelievable tech that you can almost believe is legitimate, and you go, "Well, I'm going to buy it because."
Do they use masks? I don't think they use masks in this movie.
No, they joke about it. That's the greatest part about it. They joke about it. They kind of like make a big. They actually kind of like poke fun at the fact that the mask works so well. Because Benji goes, well, I wish you could have used masks. Everyone gets to use a mask except for Benji. And they have a situation where they could have used a mask, and they actually started doing that in the Burj Khalifa, if you remember, and the machine broke. So they couldn't actually use it. So it's like kind of like, I think it feels like they said, all right, we've been doing the mask for a bit. People kind of poke fun at the mask as being too good. Like, we can't just keep relying on the mask. It becomes kind of a stupid thing. Kind of almost like too easy for them. Yeah. So like they kind of like took it out in the world and said, we're not going to use it anymore, and told us, we're not using a mask this time. I like that.
But yeah, Ethan still uses the facial hair to look like the Russian general. But they're there to find information on Cobalt, who is like the main villain at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you know it, this is where the plan goes to shit.
Right.
They start piggybacking off of their frequency, the IMF frequency. They're like, oh crap, someone's in here with us. Abort the mission. Tom, I keep calling him Tom. Ethan as he's walking out, he switches his Russian general's jacket for a leather jacket that says "Born in the USA."
No, it's the shirt that had it. The jacket, he flips the jacket around. It's like a denim type or like I don't know, some kind of weird jacket, like American tourist jacket, really.
But he's got a T-shirt that says "Born in the USA" on it, just as the Kremlin explodes. And I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me with this movie?" Like, they really did not care. Like, they can get away with anything.
Oh yeah.
Keep doing it. Ethan blacks out, wakes up in hospital, and he's arrested by. Well, tried to be arrested by these like Russian Secret Service agents. What's his name? Anatoly.
Right.
And he's blamed for the bombing. He escapes the hospital that he's in, and he meets with the IMF secretary who is in Moscow, kind of to try and bridge the gap because world's on the brink of nuclear war because of the attack on the Kremlin. Right. And he's also this is where we see Jeremy Renner as William Brandt for the first time.
Yes, and what a great character he has been introduced to the world in a way.
So good.
I'm gonna spoil it now. I was gonna put Brandt as my character return later on. We'll talk about that thing. I didn't want to because I felt like it was because he was there for 2 films. I kind of felt like it's too easy. Went against the spirit of what we're trying to do with that category. But I want to put that out there real clear. I would love to see Brandt come back because I think we missed him in Fallout. I think he was definitely among the missing. He adds a lot to the story, especially in this one. Yeah,
I think Cavill did well to like try and bridge that gap, but he ultimately ended up being the villain, so we did miss that Brandt role. And
I'm going to say right here too. I know they put Jeremy Renner in the Bourne legacy as a way they were trying to make the Bourne movies without Matt Damon. They're trying to continue the story, continue the franchise without Matt Damon, and it failed. Although I still think Bourne Legacy was actually better than it's given credit for as well. I wouldn't mind. You can't continue Mission Impossible without Tom Cruise, especially in the theaters. But you could continue. You could do a Mission Impossible.
You could do an IMF
streaming series, an IMF TV series, or something like that, with Renner and the charge of that. I could see that working and being very profitable as far as at least like very successful. So
yeah, that would be great. I'd watch it.
You
especially
have
because
TC make an appearance every once in a while. Like, I think you can get him to come down, something like that, every once in a great while or something like that. But definitely you can get Simon Pegg or Luther to pop in every once in a while. You can have a lot of fun with a lot of those characters.
I especially love like him and Ethan's relationship because it's like it's like a big swing and dick competition between the two because he's just like, oh, you're the best analyst, right? Who's this? Shows him a picture of Cobalt on the phone, and Brad just takes one look at it and goes, oh, that's Kurt Hendricks. He's a strategist seeking nuclear. Was it the nuclear war strategist who wants there to be war between the U.S. and Russia?
Right.
And they've determined that he bombed the Kremlin to cover up his theft of Russian nuclear war. What was it? It was like a control device. And then
it was the
it was the launch control device.
It was the launch codes. They took the launch codes from the Kremlin. He was stealing the launch codes from the Kremlin. They were trying to they had to get the satellite, and they had to get the actual device itself. Yeah, they had to do that. So he needed the code. He had everything else. Just needed the activation codes.
The secretary explains that the president of the U.S. has initiated Ghost Protocol, which when I heard that, I was like, ooh, here we go. Now we're going to find out what this is.
By the way, great cameo there. That's another sad. I was sad he died because he was such. I love me some Tom Wilkinson. I think anytime Tom Wilkinson appears, well, he can make. He's kind of an Ed Harris type, and he makes every movie better just by being in it, even just briefly. The fact is, the uncredited appearance of the secretary, awesome. I loved it. I loved it so much. The only person who would have better been Ed Harris, but Tom Wilkinson was great. I wish he had died. So I'd love to have seen him return as well.
I mean, we have even with the guy who plays Kurt Hendricks,
Michael Edkins.
Yeah, he was in John Wick as well as the dad.
Right.
So he's another guy. I equate to like a Michael Biehn kind of guy that he shows up in these action movies now, and you're just like, holy shit, that's that guy.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, I will say Michael Nyqvist is. I like Michael Nyqvist as an actor generally. I love him in Wick and everything else. I will say he's probably the weak link of this film, if there is one, in terms of he's not the most charismatic villain. I mean, it definitely doesn't help that he's following up Owen Davian.
That's a tough bill to fill.
But there could be a comparison as far as what goes on afterwards with the Syndicate and Henry Cavill and the guy I always forget his name. But yeah, we'll see. We'll have to say. But he is definitely the weakest of the bunch, and why I think honestly he's one of the reasons why this film is perhaps forgotten comparatively speaking, because it's an action hero. Going back to our old, I'll throw out a catchphrase for action movie anatomy for Ben Baby and Andrew Guy during action movie anatomy. They used to say, you can only action movies only as good as its villain. Without that good solid villain, it's hard to make the action hero be exciting and everything else. And Nyqvist just kind of misses that charisma to the degree. In this film, he's a great actor. Otherwise, I like him in other things. I liked him in Wick, John Wick, but this one he's not the greatest.
He's the guy that comes up with the fucking pencil line.
Fucking pencil, yeah.
Kill the guy with the fucking pencil. But he doesn't kill anyone with a pencil in this movie because the president of the United States initiates Ghost Protocol, disavowing the entire IMF.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also says, if you were to slip away to this rail yard nearby, go undercover, you will have no support. Maybe I'm willing to look the other way.
That's why I love Wilkinson. His delivery of this particular program was so spot on, so energetic, so everything. It's the, well, I'm going to do this unless you happen to escape. You happen to take me down. You happen to go to this place where there's one. He's totally giving it. And Brent's like, sir, what do you like? You shouldn't be. So
he's Mr. Strictly by the book, right. And then they get attacked by the Russian special forces, which is weird because the secretary was there for peace talks,
right?
To smooth things over. Then they get attacked by essentially the Russian premier's guy.
Well, it feels that I don't know exactly what his actual title is. He's like this. He kind of
it's SVR. I don't know what that stands for. It's secret variation of Rush. I don't know, but he's like the Russian Ethan.
Yeah, or I don't even think he's even the Russian Ethan. He's almost like he seems like he's like almost like a glorified police officer to a degree. I was a little more steps than that, but I kind of feel like what happened is somebody saw Ethan, and he went and attacked Ethan, no matter if the secretary was there or not, because he wanted to get Ethan. That's the idea. And then because when he gets there, he's like, "Stop firing! What do you like? Stop shooting! Stop shooting!" I think he kind of was trying to somebody got a little anxious. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, a little bit of an itchy trigger finger.
Yes.
But Ethan and Brant escape, and they regroup with Jane and Benji in the rail yard, and then they plan to infiltrate the meeting with Hendricks' associate Wistrom. I keep saying Winstrom. It's Wistrom and Moreau at the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which I've been to Dubai. Beautiful, beautiful place. Where Wistrom, he will buy the stolen launch codes, and then I think he's accompanied by the Leonid.
Leonid.
Leonid. That's it. Listenker. That's it. God, these names, dude. These names, like, make them easier for me, guys. But he's like a cryptographer who can verify how genuine the launch codes are.
Right.
And he's blackmailed by Wistrom keeping hold of his family.
Right.
And he said, "Look, come do this, or you know what's going to happen."
Right.
Tries to leave. That's actually a really haunting scene, because they're watching the news of Russia's been attacked, the Kremlin's been bombed, and he's looking at the TV. You can hear his wife in the background calling him, and then she just stops.
Right.
And then he turns, and Hendricks is there with the gun, and I was just like, "Whoa, okay,
very cool." Yeah, very nicely done. It's a great piece of editing because he just went from there. They're at the dinner table, her and his son, and he kind of says, "We're leaving. We got to leave," because he knows what's coming up. Walks over back. Walks back to the TV. Actually, he first watched the TV, goes to them, goes back to the TV, and the camera just kind of pans, and she's talking to him, stops, and he's not paying attention to her at all, because he's really focused on what's going on there. And then all of a sudden he starts we gotta go, then realizes that she's not talking anymore. He's like, wait, what? Boom, there he is sitting at the table, oh, the fucking pencil.
But then we get the famous Burj Khalifa heist.
Yes.
Which this is so great.
This still, honestly speaking, might be my favorite of death-defying stunts of the franchise. I mean, I love all the stuff they did. I love the plane, hanging off the plane. I love the death-defying drops in Fallout and everything.
I was gonna say Paris, the one above Paris might just about Paris over this.
The holding his breath for 7 minutes, or whatever it was, all that. A lot of good stuff, but there's something about this that I feel more tense for, and I don't know why it is. Maybe I'm scared of heights and don't know it. Maybe that's what it is. But they film this very well and make that tension spot on tension wise.
When you're in New York City, go up to the top of the Empire State Building and look down, and
I've been there.
Find the answer.
I've been there before. I don't know. Maybe I think as I get older, I get more I know as I get older, I get more claustrophobic. So I wonder if as I get older, I'm getting more scared of heights also.
Maybe.
At least the heights that maybe it's only heights where I know there's nothing to protect me. If I'm outside a window looking down, hanging on by a glove that's short circuiting, then maybe I'll find out.
This one kind of also reminded me of. Did you ever play the Hitman games?
I never did. No.
It kind of reminded me of those of they're planning all the different ways that they could go in and get to the top, assassinate this one guy, and then because it all starts to go wrong, they're like, okay, we're going to use the mask, we're going to impersonate Wistrom and Moreau.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jane is going to impersonate Moreau, which that goes well. And Ethan and Brent are going to pose as Wistrom and Lisinka,
right?
Which
also
again doesn't go too well. They're like, okay, we need to get up to a server on the top floor.
I love to go through the thing because Tom Cruise is like, it's like, vents, nope, can't do it, not enough time. Elevator shaft, pressure sensor, not enough time. Not enough time.
So they're like, okay, we're gonna start breaking out the masks.
Funny thing is, dude, outside of Peck's they figure out he's got to climb up the wall. Basically, he's got to climb up the outside of the wall with these gloves that stick to the wall, and he rolled off. But the best part is he's like, Tom Cruise, even Ethan Hunt is scared to do this, and Ethan Hunt's not scared of doing anything. And he like looks at them, and Simon's like, he's like, well, we're gonna have to do it. And he's like, we're gonna have to do it. I'm on the computer. Like, I'm just the helper, like he said.
When he said you put your hand to the glass and then roll it off,
Right.
I was like, that sounds terrifying. I'd want to keep my hand like on the glass at all times. Like, do not like take your hands off the glass and just like try to like shimmy my way up.
Oh my God.
And he gets out there and he starts climbing. And sure as shit enough, one of the gloves starts to die. It starts flashing red. He was just like, red, what is it? Green, go, red, dead.
Yeah.
I was like,
red's coming.
It starts flashing red at one point. I'm like, huh, okay, we gotta watch for that. And then it starts flashing again, and then he just like he's holding on with one hand. And I've heard two different stories. Apparently he did this one without. I've heard he did this without a wire, and he did this with a wire. If he did this without a wire, that is just fucking psychotic.
I gotta be honest with you. As much as I love Tom, there is no way that the movie that they wouldn't have. They had to have some kind of protection.
They had like a giant net underneath to catch him if he fell. I don't know, but like I've heard the two stories that he either did it with a wire or without a wire. If he did it without a wire, that is just fucking psychotic, because the big wide shot as he's climbing up the side, I was like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
He definitely had at least some kind of wire. He must have had some kind of wire.
He had to have. Like no one's that insane.
I want to say I saw the behind the scenes on this a while ago, and I could be mistaken, but I haven't watched it in a while. That he did have a wire of some kind on him, but even with the wire, it's fucking insane. It's fucking insane.
So much can go wrong,
and you're hanging off the side of the building at 130 floors up. My God. And
even just like the moment where he has to like hang off with one hand and like let his legs dangle. Just like, dude, you're letting your legs like dangle.
My heart got fast. I started beating fast. Like when the hand gave up, and he's like up there with one hand. I'm like, oh my God, he rips the glove off. I'm just like, you're out of your fucking mind at this point.
So Benji and Jane start going, they're changing the room numbers in the hotel, which that's kind of weird, but to set it up so that Wittstrom and Moreau will go into different rooms, meet them in there. And then Ethan does something even fucking crazier. He gets to the server so they can download all the information. He can't get through the server room door. In my head, I'm thinking crash a few of the servers, get one of the IT guys up there to open the door, and then he can slip through. That would be my thing. I get they didn't have enough time, but that would be, if I was in that situation, I would just start taking a hammer to things, wait for the IT guy to come up and then slip out the door.
There you go.
He decides to take like this rope thing.
Like a hose almost.
Like a hose. Throw it out the window that he carefully crafted the hole to get in. And he was just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're doing it live. Throws the hose through the window. And he's just like, okay, great. Just full send. Jumps out the window. Swings down. And then comes crashing through the hotel window.
Well, wait, no, you're talking too quickly. You forget that it spindles out. And he runs down the side. And gets to the point where he runs out.
That's right. He runs out of the rope, and they're like looking, and he's like,
and you're seeing each other. He's like, again, that great comedic moment. You're real too short. You're not short. He's like, no shit.
The battle between those two is just great. It's just like, bro, you're not fucking help. Like, reach out and grab him or something. So he decides to like kick off.
He runs as a run and then kicks off. And oh my God, he goes, and the kinetic energy here, because he bangs off the top of the
window. That thing so fucking hard.
Oh, and they have to catch Renner has to catch his foot. What the fuck, dude? What the fuck?
The thing is, like, he had to have got a concussion from the impact
Yeah.
that he took of hitting that bit up the top of the window. He
God,
had to have, because
had to
that
have.
I've been hit in the head pretty hard. That looked
Right.
like it fucking hurt.
I'm looking it up, by the way. He was in a wire, but still,
Okay,
it's
cool.
still intense. So,
Still, but it's still insane.
right.
So they go in, they get changed, and all of the team go off to their respective meetings to fake, but not without Ethan revealing, we got to give Winstrom the real codes.
Yeah. And that's another
Brad doesn't
great
like.
battle, because Brad's like trying. He has this whole big thing like we can't do it. He actually holds the briefcase out the window, but Tom Cruise, being Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt just kind of sits there and says, "Look, it's the thing that we talk about the most. His intensity saves lives. Everything is the most important thing in the world. This conversation actually is the most important conversation he has. Like, look, think of it through. You could tell me if there's no other way that he'll get the codes. I'll walk away now. Think about it. You tell me, is there no other way?" And Renner's think about it and goes, "There's other ways. There's other ways. So we're gonna have to go through with that, just like Ethan Hunt wants."
So they each play off each other in the different meetings. They got the earpieces in. They're using like radioactive isotope on the paper to track down Wistrom afterwards, so they can get to him after the buy.
Mm-hmm.
Whole bunch of stuff goes wrong during the buy. Brad gets caught with the little eye lens that he's got that he uses to look. He's like looking through the paper, and it's getting printed in the briefcase on the next floor, which that's just fucking great. Like he's looking at it, and it's getting printed in the briefcase in the meeting that Jane's in with Wistrom. It's just like, dude, tech in spy movies is awesome.
Yeah, I want that. I want that tech, and that's what inspires technology to get better. I think that'd be kind of cool to have a contact lens that can print up on blinking toys. Perfect copies.
After the buy, Wistrom, he murders Lysinka, which is I actually didn't see that coming. I thought that he would just like let him walk off.
Poor guy.
Psych. Moreau ends up getting captured by Jane and held in a room at gunpoint by Benji, of all people. But then she protests. She gets into a fight with Jane, and even though Ethan said to her, "Jane, she's an asset. I need her alive," Jane decides to kick her out the window of the Burj Khalifa.
Well, to be fair, it's not like she just out decided to do it. It was definitely during the fight sequence. There was guns involved. I mean, I don't think she was very upset that it happened, but it's not like she went against orders, like specifically went against orders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's... Ethan wasn't too happy with that.
No, he wasn't.
Then we get Anatoly Sidorov, the Russian agent, the Russian cop.
Mm-hmm.
He's there in Dubai. Somehow he manages to track Ethan down just as Ethan's just about to get Wistrom.
Right.
And he gets grabbed. Ethan knocks him down. Wistrom turns around and he's just like, "Oh, shit, it's you. You're following me. I'd better get the hell out of here."
Yep.
Wistrom then unmasks himself as Hendrix.
Which is so weird to me. This is actually one of the parts of the film that so we actually do get a mask, an actually good looking mask, despite what I said earlier about them trying not to use it. But I don't understand what the reason was. Like, because Wistrom is actually a real character. Like, if the idea was that he was always Wistrom the entire time and that was like his way of doing it, okay. But like Wistrom's an actual real character. So why have Hendrix dress up as Wistrom? That part didn't make any sense to me. Like either
maybe
have
just in case Hunt was there. Maybe they knew Ethan was tracking them down, and they thought, let's send Hendrix just in case. Because if Wistrom does get caught, then they're kind of boned.
I guess. But if Hendrix, I don't know. It seems to be kind of a weird. Like sometimes spy movies and stuff can kind of get a little too complex for their own good, and this kind of seems like a needless decision to make, to be honest. Like having him in India, maybe like Wistrom was like running and got out the door, and maybe even Hendrix was the getaway driver, or his own getaway driver or something. That would make more sense than to have him dress up as Wistrom. Just because now, like if Wistrom seems to be like his main security kind of guy, So now you're going there without your main security guy. You're pretending to be the security guy, and then you have to get away. And you have to say, I mean, maybe it was a way to try to make him be physically intimidating and a good villain for thing. Maybe that's what the decision was. But I don't know. It's a little nitpicky on my part. But at the end of the day,
it's a very valid point. No. But then, as Ethan's chasing him through a sandstorm, which storm's coming up quick, Ethan. You better get home quick.
Mm-hmm.
Jane and Benji have this moment with Brad because Brad kicks off a whole heap of ass in their meeting. He's like taking guns apart, elbowing people, like side kicking them. I was like, what the hell?
Considering he's an analyst, yes, exactly.
I mean, Ethan even says it's just like an analyst.
So obviously there's something going on there.
Yeah, and then this is where we get a really great scene where Brant admits that he resigned as a field agent after he failed to protect Julie, Ethan's wife, from a hit.
This is what I talked about before. We do have the emotional moments. The whole thing beforehand, we were kind of led to believe it was kind of mysterious. Obviously, at the end of 3, he and Julie got back together. He let her know that he was an IMF agent and everything else, and presumably they were married. So presumably they were going off on their honeymoon. So last we knew they were together. And at the beginning of this film, we know that Ethan is in a Russian prison, and we just kind of get bits and pieces. I think Benji at one point mentioned something about them splitting up, or he's not together, and on mission he's like, I'm sorry that Julia left.
Ethan became a bit unhinged, right? He even said that Ethan started getting dark, and you know, there was a moment where they thought that they wouldn't be able to pull him back,
right?
And
so now Brant gives them the story of what happened, that she was killed under his protection, and then Ethan Hunt went rogue and killed the Soviet agents, and that's how he ended up in that Russian prison. So it's a great emotional moment because it connects the Brant character. It makes him a good field agent. It makes it understand, okay, now so he actually is an agent. He's just kind of a retired agent because of this, and he's got a connection to the team now. So that makes even more of a great web of entanglement.
And while this conversation is going on, we get the return. The man himself, Bogdan.
Yes.
comes to return the favor by taking Ethan to a man known as the Fog.
Yes.
The Fog, an arms dealer.
Was his cousin or something? Or was it a friend?
I think it's his cousin.
It might have been cousin.
I think it's his cousin. And then he learns that Hendrix is buying an obsolete Soviet military satellite from an Indian media tycoon, Brijnath.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives the same. Not only does he give this information to Ethan, he gives it to Sidorov as well.
Right.
In return for clearing up his rap sheet.
Right.
And I love what comes next. The scene in Dubai at the party.
Oh. Bridge, played by the inestimable Anil Kapoor, who is just a wonderful performer.
Oh, great! He's in Slumdog Millionaire, right?
He's in a bunch of things. Slumdog Millionaire is one of them. He's actually in 24, the Kiefer Sutherland series at one point. He does a lot of Bollywood.
Who was in 24?
He was in the first season. He was the President Omar Hassan, and then in season 8 he came back.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love 24.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was forgot that.
Yeah. And he came back also, and he was producing it. And it was Rathod from 2013 to 2016. He did a lot of good stuff with 24. Yeah. But he's a lot of Bollywood stuff. Obviously, he's like that's where his main career has been. But he's done a couple of things in America. This one being one of them. Slumdog Millionaire worked out well as well. There's a couple others I kind of remember. I don't remember, but he's in a bunch of things out there. He's wonderful, charismatic, fun. Like I'm so glad they cast him in this.
Yeah, he's great. And Jane is tasked with flirting with him, seducing him, while down below, Benji and Brant are trying to get onto the satellite, get access to it by diving down on top of a giant fan. So
25-foot drop.
25-foot drop on top of a fan with a gigantic spike in the middle. And this time it's Brant doing the crazy suicidal jump. And he's wearing this weird magnetic suit. And that is probably my favorite comedic moment where he's just like
Jump.
He jumps, and Ethan's like,
And I'll
jump. And he jumps. And then Ethan goes over to the bar. He kisses Jane to get Bridges' attention. And then he goes, "Did you jump?" And Brent just goes, "Should I not have jumped?"
Because I'll catch you. Jump and I'll catch you.
And he's just got like the little robot with the magnet on the other side, like underneath the floor, just like guiding him through. And there's the moment where he takes him into the actual like the server, for lack of a better term, server room part of it. And Benji goes, "Be careful. It might be pretty hot in there." And like just as he says that, Brant burns himself on the way through, and you can tell on the look of his face, he's just like, "I'm so fucking over this." Like, I'm so over this shit.
I love it so much as well. It's because it's got that great moment, and I love it. Simon Pegg. That's like the second time it happens where he acts really cocky about things because he's not actually doing it. And like, jump, just jump. I'll catch you.
I'll catch you.
And he actually gives him shit because he knows that Redder's already nervous about it. And he's like, "So you're sure about the suit?" "Yeah, I'm pretty sure."
Pretty sure. Now you're pretty sure.
And that's why Simon Pegg is perfect in this role. He just does it very, very well. So, but yeah, great moment.
Jane ends up getting the satellite override codes from Bridge and the team.
I'll say, first of all, Anil Kapoor, you are a passionate creature.
I would like to show you my collection of art.
So
find me.
So good.
It's like the game of cat. He's great. He's awesome. And also another prime example of Tom Cruise's sexual chemistry with the co-star was just like, "I'm playing off a hunch. Don't hit me." Proceeds to kiss her, and he's just like, "This was the time. This was probably the one time where I've been like, yeah, actually, Paul might have a point. That's kind of cringe."
Once again, hard to see, but hey, what can you do?
So they chase down Hendricks and Wistrom to the satellite broadcast facility,
right?
And Hendricks sends the launch orders to a Russian nuclear submarine to fire a missile at San Francisco, which I don't know why. Of all places, San Francisco, you think they would go for like Washington or somewhere actually. I don't want to say important because I shout out San Francisco. I do love San Francisco, but like you would think that they would attack somewhere like
higher target, like a higher
like a high priority target,
DC, or maybe it was New York.
Yeah, or maybe it was just somewhere to like show like, hey, look, we're serious about this.
Right.
Wistrom sabotages the system. Jane, Brant, and Benji fight and kill Wistrom.
Yes.
Which that's a pretty grueling fight.
Simon Pegg. That's what he does. He proves himself worthy as the field agent. He's not much shooting. He is because Brant is getting beaten by Wistrom, has him like a chokehold. He's trying to restore power to the station so they can get the abort code there. And sure enough, the gun goes off, and there's Simon Pegg having taken him out.
It's because he had Brant had his hand on top of Wistrom's head, didn't have it behind it. Nerd, jiu-jitsu nerd. The servers get absolutely wrecked. The machines get absolutely wrecked, so they have to work to repair the station while Ethan pursues Hendricks.
Right.
He corners Hendricks. Hendricks then jumps to his own death to get the device out of reach.
Yeah.
The team get the system back online. Ethan manages to retrieve the launch device and disables the missile moments before it detonates.
Well, let's be honest, he does this by going into a car and then driving it forward to drop the now needed, literally crashing it. So it's ridiculous, but also good. I gotta be honest with you. I guess this is part of my issue with Hendricks as the villain and again, this is actually Michael Nyquist. I love Brad Bird, and I said I like the writing on this overall. This is where the writing does fail a little bit in terms of the villain, because I feel like he's supposed to be this like passionate zealot kind of thing, and it's kind of said that earlier on, and then this is like where he shows it, but I kind of feel like that's not been very consistent, like because I didn't see him as this guy he's like gonna kill himself for the cause. And that would have been a different villain if he kind of committed to that and made that more clear throughout. I mean, they do say it a couple of times, so it's on my myself as a viewer. I have to be able to keep up with that in a way. I kind of feel like they just drop the ball, kind of like casually mentioning that, and then like this happens, like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing here. Okay,
Yeah,
but not awful, but.
And then Anatoly Sidorov and his men arrive, only to realize that Ethan was giving him clues the whole time to track them.
Right.
Just to show them that the IMF was innocent of the Kremlin bombing, and he offers to give Ethan a ride to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like they're going full circle.
Yeah.
Of like where they first met. Not the same hospital, but he's like,
the same
let me
thing.
take you to the hospital.
But that's like one of the greatest parts. And you could say there's the argument to be made that it wraps up a little bit too cleanly because of that. But I think it's well layered enough because obviously he's chasing him the whole time, and we discover that Ethan Hunt told the Fog to call not Sergei, the SVR guy, and he kind of puts it together pretty quickly. He's like, yeah, because he said it before in the Burj Khalifa chase right before he goes, "I'm not your enemy." So we're not enemies, because he sees it. He sees Ethan Hunt had aborted the. First of all,
he's calling him team leader.
By the way, you forgot to mention the mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. Yeah. If you watch the Schmoedown, it was kind of like the kid trying to like the speed buzzer.
Yeah,
mission accomplished. But comes in, he sees the abort, and he puts it all together. He's like, okay, well, this actually all makes sense, and that's what I like about that character, because that character is it's Anatoly Sidorov. That's what it's Sidorov, because he could be a character that was dumb. He could have been like the dumb Russian guy who is always a step behind, but he's not really a dumb guy step behind. He's actually a very intelligent officer. He just is a step behind Ethan. I mean, everybody can be a step behind Ethan, but when he comes down to it, he doesn't like double down, because a lot of times this is the kind of time where the authority chasing will double down because that's been his mission. My mission has been getting Ethan. I can't be wrong. So Ethan must be wrong. But he sees the facts laid out pretty quickly. He can put two and two together and goes, yeah, right. Yeah, he was being truthful with me. He's being honest with me. This guy wasn't my enemy. All right, fine. So I really like how it worked out that way.
It's kind of like that, like game recognizes game. Like,
yeah.
Respect between the two of them. And then we end up at the end of it. We're in Seattle.
Yep.
Ethan has his team assembled for another mission. This time, the mission given by Luther.
Yes.
This is the first time we've seen Luther throughout this movie. Throughout the whole movie, when I first watched it, I was like, something doesn't seem right. Where's Luther? And obviously, Luther was disavowed. He had to go off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Brandt seemingly confesses to Ethan his failure to protect Julia.
Right. Which we're kind of waiting for the whole episode. For the whole, I keep saying episode, the whole installment, we've been waiting for that to happen. But really want to touch bases. That is saving grace. You get to see Luther, because that's the only reason we get to see Luther, is now he is the only one besides Tom Cruise that is been in every single one. So I'm glad we get it. If it was a cameo or not, I'm glad it was kind of it was an important appearance nonetheless. But go ahead. Yes. Now, Brad, because Ethan decides to keep the team together, and here's your job. Here's your phone.
For the first time. This is the first time he's kept the same team together.
And Brent is like refusing at first because he doesn't feel like he can. And go ahead from there.
And then Ethan, he seemingly confesses that he failed to protect Julia, but Ethan always 3 steps ahead. He knew.
Right.
And he reveals that she's alive. Her death was staged to give her a new identity, to keep her safe away from him, sacrifices his happiness, his marriage, and to let him infiltrate the prison to find Bogdan. So Bogdan was more important than I guess people were giving him credit for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Brent accepts the mission and agrees that he's going to get back out in the field again. Julie arrives at the harbor and spots Ethan watching her from a distance, and they just smile at each other.
It's another great cameo. We get Michelle Monaghan for just a few minutes, and because we were led to believe that she was dead the whole time, and it was kind of like a sad thing. It was like, well, he got his happiness. Mission Impossible 3, that almost like disavowed Mission Impossible 3. It wipes away the happy ending. I didn't like that. And then at the end, like, it kind of gave us Tom Cruise gave us a happy ending. So then, it's bittersweet. They can't be together, and that makes sense. We can go with that route. It actually ends up leading to a great moment in Fallout. And I don't think that's the end. I still feel we're going to get her in 7 or 8.
I think
at
so.
some point. I think you can't have it end without her. but it gives him closure, gives us closure, and it's like it's still a happy-esque ending of that particular story. But yeah, what a great moment too, because Jeremy Renner's performance in that was really good too. You could kind of see the weight come off his shoulders when he mentioned he's kind of like he laughs about it. He's like, and he could have been pissed about it because like I've been like upset, this could completely ruin my life for a couple of years, and you fucking faked it. But he doesn't go that way. He's like kind of like, I get it. I'm just happy that I didn't fuck up, and I'm not the reason why. So, what a good way to end. What great closure for everybody during that scene.
But then we get the lead in that leads on to the next movie, which we're going to talk about next week. As he's leaving, Ethan receives the debrief about a breach in the IMF's military communications network. Someone has breached the IMF, and it's an emerging terrorist network known only as the Syndicate. And I love as he's listening, that shot of he just disappears into the fog, and as the fog goes comes aside, he's gone. I'm like, that is fucking brilliant.
Great. It's a great shot, great ending. Good work by Brad there. I kind of wonder if as I said, like, you know, the 4, 5, 6, and 7 have all kind of, well, 5 and 6 at least, and I think 7 have all been kind of on a trajectory of a similar storyline going forward. I do wonder if this was written about. Do they know that this was the idea for Rogue Nation, or was this like?
I think so.
Or was this the idea, or did Rogue Nation go? You know what? We see that at the end of it. Let's go base it off of that and go from there.
Because I think one part of 7 is going to be bringing one, probably not anything from 2, but bringing the first Mission Impossible into that, perhaps, like that series of 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. So
they're like including it, and maybe Dead Reckoning 2 will finally get Billy back, and they'll bring in. So I feel like it's them trying to include, because you're right, you did have 1, 2, and 3 are very much their own standalones, other than the connective tissue of Ethan and Luther.
Right.
But then those 3 movies are very much standalone movies. They're in the franchise, but they're their own stories. They're their own standalone stories, whereas you have 4, 5, and 6 that are like one cohesive story. I wonder if 7 and 8 are going to be the way to bring 1, 2, and maybe 3 into that cohesive story.
Perhaps. I mean, 3 already has a little bit of connective tissue with Michelle Monaghan. Obviously, that's the big one for them. We could see always, like I said before, we could always see Lawrence Fishburne come back potentially as a way to connect it in. I do think you're right; they could connect it in that way. We already know Kittredge is coming back from 1. Obviously, that's
Kittredge is coming back. Vanessa Kirby's mother is Max, so maybe Max comes back.
You know what's interesting? You know, it's very interesting is that I was reading about this. I actually watching this movie, and part of our upcoming category is kind of like, why didn't Paula Patton come back after 4? Because they really set it up that she was going to come back, and reportedly she was going. There were plans by McQuarrie to have her come back, but scheduling didn't work out. They're going to have her come back and Maggie Q come back at one point. That was actually they're both kind of in the works. It would have been all the different Ethan Hunt women, so to speak, at some point or another. But yeah, this case it didn't work out. It didn't work out for him, unfortunately. So I don't know. Maybe Paula will come back for 7. I don't know, or 7 or 8, perhaps.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, while we've got Rebecca Ferguson, I'm more than okay with.
Rebecca Ferguson is like one of the loves of my life, so I'm completely on board there.
Friday. Anyway, let's get on to. With that being said, great discussion. Another great discussion about the movie. Let's move on to our next category. The knock list. This is who do we think is our MVP of the movie?
Yes, indeed.
Anyone besides Ethan Hunt. It can be on the IMF. It can be. It's not really the Syndicate at this point, but like, you know, it could be. Maybe I could argue a tie-in. I'm not going to. We're already going pretty long, but who is your MVP for this movie?
This was a very tough one for me. I'm going to go through my my train of thought. I started thinking about this. I'm kind of like, okay, obviously, we don't have Ethan. Obviously, that's part of the rules. I definitely wasn't going to give it to Nyquist or any of the villains. This is the least villain installment of the entire series. There's nothing really that memorable about any of these villains, except for Lisa Dew. But I don't think she did enough to be an MVP. Thought about Paula Patton, but There was a whole lot there. I thought about Brant was a big one for me because I did love adding Brant to it. Part of me that wanted to give it to Neil the Poor, to be honest with you, because I loved him so much. But
I would let you.
I'm gonna go with my boy. I gotta go with Benji. I really think that Benji actually,
Benji 2-time winner.
The reason why Benji makes this work, honestly, is because he's in the field. He really gives that great connection of action and comedy. He lets the two combine, keeps it lighthearted enough that it's just so much fun to go along with the great death-defying action sequences. Let Ethan handle kind of like the more dramatic things, the big like death, the murdering things, and all that kind of stuff. Let Simon Pegg give it that little bit of light touch to make it just a little bit more adventurous. So yeah, Benji's my boy for this one. I could see Benji going for Rogue Nation and Fallout also. I don't know, I have to say, but definitely for this one.
I mean, when I first heard that he was going to be in this movie, when I first heard Simon Pegg was going to be in a Mission Impossible movie, I was confused as fuck enough that he was going to be in a Star Trek movie. And now, but bear in mind, I'm a Wars guy, not in I hate Star Trek. I'm a Star Wars guy. I just haven't seen a lot. I haven't seen 99.9% of Star Trek. So, but when he was announced to be in that, I was like, huh, okay. And then he was announced to be in Mission Impossible, and I was like, Simon Pegg, Mission Impossible, okay. Let's just roll with it. And as you said, yeah, he's a great addition. He like, other than Luther, he's become the man in the chair. But now he's not the man in the chair. He's the man in the field.
He's got like a wheelchair though, I guess, because he still goes on the field. I guess is that what it is?
Yeah. But mine, I'm gonna have to pick Brent. One of us. If it's not gonna be you, it's gotta be me.
I'm happy you are, because I agree. So
the character art of him being like the pissing contest with Ethan in the car, to like us finding out that he was trying to protect Ethan's wife.
Yes.
Like whether he failed or succeeded, the fact that he is that close to Ethan, like Ethan knew who he was, and he's like, I wouldn't have let you anywhere nearer if I didn't know how capable you were. And it's just like Ethan was essentially playing him the whole time, but there was like a respect between the two that Brant didn't know was there.
Right.
And Brant thought that he was one-upping Ethan the whole time, when really like Ethan knew. And just like the chemistry between the two, it was very much like two alpha dogs like clashing against one another, but there was still that level of respect. And Jeremy Renner's performance was absolutely incredible. I like him as Hawkeye. I love him as Brant.
Yeah, me too. I really do. I liked him in Born Legacy, but Brant's probably my favorite character from Jeremy Renner. Oh,
I think so too.
The Town.
Yeah, he's great. He's great in The Town, but I'm sticking to my guns.
That's fine. I don't think it's a bad choice. I'm just that I don't know if I can say that. So
the town is great. The Town is great.
Are we taken?
Okay, let's move on to our next segment, which is Count to 10, which is our favorite dramatic moments of this movie. Which, as we said, there's not very many dramatic moments. I'll go first with this one. I think it's more of like dramatic comedy, but the moment where Brant jumps into the fan was so tense for me the first time I saw it. So I was like, okay, there's going to be a part where the mission goes wrong. There's always a part where the mission goes wrong. I just feel like the scene where Brant, he's essentially putting that's another part of it, like the adding to his character arc of like he's putting all of his trust in Benji at this point.
Right.
And he came into the team just like, great, I got to put my life in your hands. Like these people I don't even know, like, okay, whatever. What about yours? What's your count to 10 moment?
Count to 10 moment is one I actually already talked about. To me, it was Brant learning that Julie lived. It was a happier version
Great.
of Count to 10. It was still dramatic, but it was still. I mean, you can have a happy moment and still be dramatic, and that's why I really. It's because I believed in Brent so much. It's because I believed in his character and I believed in his arc, and everything came to it. I saw the hurt where he finally admitted it. I saw him, and you go back if you watch the second time, he does a great job. Like you see him watching Ethan, and you kind of see him get to that place where he needs to get to. So when he discovers that Julie's alive, because Ethan says basically, "Did you see a body? This happens. This happened." He just has this moment where he like just his head in his hand in his his head and like his elbow on the table, and just starts laughing. And he's like. And it's just like I said, you could just see the weight coming off his shoulders, and you could see that he's a changed man as of that moment. Now his life is different. He's a better man. He's forgiven. Like he doesn't need to be forgiven. He's done everything right. So at this point, that made it a great dramatic moment for me.
Yeah, great pick. Yeah, just like him getting all that weight off his shoulders, and then Ethan just being like, "Dude, I knew the whole time." Like,
right.
We're good. You're fine. Don't worry about it. It was just like such a relief.
Oh, so good. So good.
We got a couple segments left. Yeah. Next one is Light the Fuse, which is our favorite action scene. Mine, there's only one. There's only one.
Is there one besides one? I mean, come on. Go ahead.
It's the prison. It's the prison escape scene.
Ah, okay. Fair. You know what? I was wrong.
It just all went to shit so quick. But Ethan is just like he's walking through. There was the one moment where they opened the door, they opened the bars, the bar doors, and then like you had the doors next to it, the double doors next to it, and all the guards just came storming through. And I was just like, oh Jesus, like you're not making this easy for yourself, boys. But it was just like the chaos and like Ethan being able to keep calm under pressure, divert from the plan that he didn't even know was a plan. Grab his guy, like he is loyal to Bogdan. Grab him, get out, beat the crap out of a whole bunch of guards and prisoners at the same time. Like he's not playing either side, nor prisoner nor guard at this point. I love the moment where he's demonstrating to Bogdan how to go down the rope. He's like, hold it, wrap your leg around, slide down. And then Bogdan just flies down and eats shit on the way down. And like they get into the room and like the thing hasn't come through yet.
Right.
And like they see the hole come and then Bogdan's like looking through. He's like looking over it. And Ethan just grabs him and pulls him back as the hook comes firing up. And I was just like, Jesus. That, and as you said, the music, the comedy of it, I loved it. I thought it was great.
You're not wrong, and I kind of thought I would have put Burj Khalifa as their one, and I did put Burj Khalifa as my one as well. But I mean, I when you start talking about it, I do love that opening. It sets the tone for the film so perfectly. And because, like I said before, everything is done for a reason, and like that's important to his relationship with Brand. It's important with where we're going to see him later on. But for me, I can't get over how much I felt. Like dread-wise during the Burj Khalifa sequence, whether it was the short-circuited glove that automatically started my hair going up in my arms, and the biggest moment of the whole time is the afterward, just the spooled out hose and the run and the let go and the crack of the head, and then into the being. My heart drops every time. I watched this movie a bunch of times. It drops every time I watch it. Like I know he's gonna get caught. I know he's catching him. I still. Just drops every moment.
Yeah, just that sound. Like again, as someone who has been hitting the head pretty hard, that sound when he crashes into the like the top of the window frame was like, oh.
That this whole movie has that. There are a bunch of times action wise. This is another reason why it is one of my favorites. Is I feel the connection. The other time when. During the ending, which I gotta say, like the ending action sequences are not amongst the best of the franchise, like the car sequence, the whole thing of that. But when he jumps down off the thing and he lands in the car, he does the same thing. He smacks his head into the side of the car, trying to get into it, and then makes that same kind of crunching sound, like
There's no way he didn't get some form of a concussion,
right?
While filming that.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But so that's why, to me, if that a movie can make me feel that way, um, even if it's like the 15th time I've watched it, then that's why it's got something special. So that's why for
Maybe
me,
in the last episode of this series, we will rank our death-defying stunt moments.
we could do that. We could do that in between. If we are waiting for Dead Reckoning, it's gonna be a long time before our next episode after Dead Reckoning Part 2 comes out. But
but let's move on to our final category. We started with your mission, and our final category. Should you choose to accept it, who are we going to bring back for Dead Reckoning Part 1 or Part 2? You already know my answer, so PLD, who are you picking?
Well, like I said before, I would pick Brant, but I'm gonna say that goes against the spirit of what we want to do. So I'm sorry, I might have to do it. I'm gonna bring back Bogdan. I'm gonna bring back Bogdan and the Fog.
Let's do it.
Bogdan and the Fog both. I think that's the way you get him in, because Bogdan's like a small man of himself, but you could need the Fog to be wielded into that storyline somehow as an arms dealer. So then, but with the Fog comes Bogdan, and we get him having to like run along with the team or something like that, almost like the comedic relief at that point. I want him with the team a little bit more this time. Yes, they have some kind of mission in Russia, maybe. I don't know. Either way, give me Bogdan, give me the Fog back, definitely.
I think they're going back to Prague for a scene. I'm pretty sure that the scene in the trailer between Rebecca Ferguson and I can't remember who she's fighting on the bridge. I'm 80% sure that's in Prague. So maybe they're going back to Prague. Relatively close.
Could be.
But the reason I think we are going to get Bogdan is because the actor who plays Bogdan was recently in another action blockbuster, and I'm curious to see if you remember which one without looking it up. If you can recall, it's very recent.
Is there no wait? What? So give me the full question again. Give me the full question. I want to.
So the actor who played Bogdan.
Bogdan. Okay.
He was recently in another action blockbuster. Very recently.
Really? Bogdan. Oh wait.
Has he got it?
Fast X.
He's in Fast X.
He's in Fast X.
He's the Russian guy with the bag.
Yep, that's right. That's right. He was F9, same guy, right? He had an appearance in F9 as well, I think. Same character, the Russian character in that one as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, good call. Good call.
That's why I think that they may. I think they're gonna bring it back.
My God, they very well could. Absolutely. Nice. I like it.
Cool. So we're both on the Bogdan train. I like this. I like this. The Bogdan Boys fan club. I like this.
You know who else I would like to see come back? I'm going to add an additional one, even though because we can. I still would like to see, again, this is a more believable because we didn't see the body. Let's get Tom Wilkinson back somehow.
I thought you were going to go with Léa Seydoux.
No, Léa Seydoux, I don't believe. That one's unbelievable. The other one is more of a believable, we didn't see the body kind of thing.
Léa Seydoux would be kind of crazy.
Oh, no, wait. Never mind. He got shot in the head. Never mind. Did he get a headshot? I think.
Or did he?
Maybe that was something different. Maybe he faked his death. Maybe that wasn't. He was wearing a mask.
If he put a mask on someone else to be in once.
That's right. They could do it. So. All right, there you go.
But thank you everyone for watching. This has been another episode of MID Classified. I love doing these. These are great. I love talking Star Wars with you, but sometimes it's nice to like veer away and like talk about another thing that we love. And we both love Mission Impossible.
Absolutely.
Both love TC Legend. I'm above honored that I get to go to the premiere in London. I saw pictures and stuff of the one in Rome. It looked incredible. They had the Fiat 500 from the yellow Fiat 500 from this movie was at the premiere, which is that's just insane. PLD, where can the folks find you?
Well, you can find me a billion different places, but I'm all over PLD projects, as we've already mentioned at the top of the stream. We got a bunch of shows. Got a bunch of shows on here. We do. Of course, Miracle Weight Dudes on film. We got Holy Snooks, a Star Wars podcast. These Mission Impossible Declassified now. Crown Jewels on my sister channel, PLD Products Crown Jewels, where I go through Queen songs, every Queen song in the catalog. Review mentioned before, and the Renaissance is coming up. I want to say I think I initially announced a date of the end of this month. For the Renaissance, I believe is what my initial goal was. But due to me having to, hashtag blame Jarvie. Fuck you, Jarvie. I'm kidding. I love you. But because I was going to step up for Jarvie on this show, which I'm very happy to do, because this has been a blast to do with you. The only downside, if there is one, is that I had kind of chunked aside this time to finish up the Harrison stuff. I'm kind of using that for the mission for Declassified instead. But since it's Declassified is a short show, it's only got a couple episodes left. After that's done, so I think my new goal end date will be the end of July. I'll drop the first episode of the Harrisons. Maybe before that, maybe mid-July, depending on if I can get it done in time. I don't want to announce a full-on episode yet, but definitely by the end of July will be the first episode. Patrons will get it a little sooner, I believe. Nice. Speaking of that, patreon.com/PLD projects. Join a bunch of different folks such as Austin Goodell, Jeremiah Morris, Matty Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, Kelly W. Couldn't do it without you guys. We love you guys so much, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and as I said, we're working our way now towards 500 subscribers. If you like what you see here, if you're interested in any of the other content that we provide here at PLD Projects, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, get us to 500. Who knows, maybe we're going to have some more shows like this, some more little limited series on these franchises that we like to do. Maybe we'll do a few more down the line while we're waiting for Dead Reckoning Part 2 to come out. I believe I've been told that I'm allowed to give a social media reaction, but not a review for this weekend. I think the embargo for spoiler-free reviews is next week, I think. But I've been told that I can tweet and say how awesome or how shite it is, but
it's not going to be shite.
No, we know. I'm pretty sure you guys already know how I'm going to react to it.
Right.
But you can follow me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, Instagram Matty_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner, MOURNER, on all DSPs. You can find me here every week for MI Declassified and Holy Snokes. And I'm pretty sure I haven't got anything else going on. Yeah, that's it.
All
Thank you guys so much for watching. And with that being said, we are officially disavowed.